Alright, so Record of Ragnarok, Chapter 79, the translations are finally out, and of course, I'm here with the breakdown. So as I mentioned in my leak video, this is going to serve as Leonidas' first backstory, not really from his perspective, but from the perspective of Haggis, one of the Spartans that followed him into battle in the Battle of Thermopylae, obviously the famous Battle of 300 versus the 300,000 Persians. Basically what we find out at the beginning of the chapter is that like everybody revered this man, even the little children. Everybody looked up to the king of Sparta, and it said that whenever Haggis speaks about Leonidas, even as an old man, his blood boils even though it should have already dried up. It's because he was so passionate with his reverence for him and basically with all the events that transpired that we're going to find out about here. Whenever he saw his back, he could not help being excited. I'm just an old man now, but I think I could still fight. Whenever Leonidas' name was brought up, the soldiers, their adrenaline would start pumping. He was literally just the most motivating figure in their world. And just by staring at his back as he led from the front, a king that led from the front, they all believed they could win against any odds imaginable, even if it was against 300,000 enemies. And it's also stated he was a man that lived before Christ. So if you guys know, Jesus is actually in the manga. He showed up during the Buddha fight. He's one of the four sages, including Buddha, Socrates, Confucius, and of course Jesus himself. So they state he lived before Christ. Also, there's a picture of the old version of the Christian God when Adam comes out, and then they directly reference the Bible. So Christianity is part of Ragnarok. Since then, countless heroes of all ages and countries have been born. We get a statue of Abraham Lincoln there too, which was cool. He's like, however, I dare say that King Leonidas I is the man who has received the most admiring gazes on his back in the history of mankind. So he believes Leonidas is the most admired man. Obviously, he's biased though. So 480 BC, the Battle of Thermopylae is what we're building up to. Xerxes was riding his war elephant with his army of 300,000 Persians marching on Greece. And we got a design for Xerxes, which I said I wanted. We got it. He looks pretty decent, actually. Looks pretty cool. He's a fighter. They didn't make him like a bitch or anything. And basically what ends up happening is that he was planning on marching forward, but it was during a time when the Spartans were told not to fight. Now, who told them not to fight? None other than Apollo. So this is what kickstarts the absolute disdain Leonidas has for Apollo, even in the current story. We find out that they had like this giant statue of Apollo where they were praying to him and everything. And all the elders were saying, no, we're not able to fight. We're not allowed to fight the Persians, not during the Carnea festival, which is the time period that Apollo told them not to fight. And Apollo had told them if they go to war during the Carnea festival, his divine punishment will be upon them. Now, whatever we heard divine punishment before, obviously Zero Fuko and his crew. The Festival of Carnea is a ritual that literally serves to honor the glory of Apollo. So that man, of course, we knew he was a narcissist already, but he told them, you guys must worship me, no fighting during this period. And no military action was allowed. And they got this information because Apollo is stated to have actually descended down to Earth at one point, and he directly told the people of this land. Now, this was way before Leonidas' time, of course, so he had no direct meeting with him. But this oracle of Apollo was passed down from generation to generation, something that was non-negotiable. Then you see various other people like pleading with the elders like, look, we have no choice. Like, we must stop the Persian army before they invade Peloponnese. We must attack them now, otherwise we will not be able to resist them. Like, the positioning of the battlefield will just be completely at their disadvantage if they don't stop them where they are now. And he's like, if that happens, the people of Sparta, what will happen? What will they do to us? Like, we will fall. Like, we're supposed to be this great warrior nation. Like, we're gonna fall if we don't hurry up. The elders, like, they just keep pushing it away. They're like, are you telling us to disrespect the oracle that our Spartans protected for hundreds of years? Look, don't worry about it. We will fight after the festival. And the dude's like, bro, we don't got time, bro. Like, I fear it's gonna be too late, but he can't do anything, of course. Elders, they just are naive as hell. They're like, look, we're one of the greatest military forces. There's no way a delay of a few days is going to result in our defeat. And then they shut this dude down, so he can't get another word in. That's the oracle's rule. And we get to see Haggis, who was like eavesdropping on the conversation. He's like, well, it's the oracle's rule, can't be helped. It's going to happen. Somebody's going to have to decide what to do about it. He knew that that guy's pleading was going to be for naught. And basically Haggis was in a state of like, well, there's really nothing I can do about it, so I'm not going to worry about it. It is what it is. Peer pressure, don't think for yourself mentality. It was easier that way, just to be a cut of the majority. You know, just fall in line, do what they say, and you're going to live a peaceful life. But one man, he was the only man who was different, of course, being King Leonidas. He walked up still with his cigar, shit, smoking his thing, and he walks in. He literally says, are you guys fucking idiots? He just takes a puff of his cigar. He's like, Oracle, Apollo, divine punishment. I don't give a shit about any of this, bro. I've never met and I've never seen such a god. I'm sorry, but there's no way that I'll entrust my life to him. I am going for it. If you guys are enjoying this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a like. It really helps the channel and I appreciate it. He literally planned on going to Thermopylae by himself to fight 300,000 people solo. It's crazy. This man was just like, fuck it. If nobody else want to come, I'm doing it. And the elders are like, yeah, you may be the king, but we control the military orders and everything. You're not allowed to move without us. You dare disrespect the Holy Council. This was kind of their checks and balance system, like having a council to like offset the king, but he didn't give a fuck. He didn't want to hear none of that shit. Walks straight up with his bare hands, crushes the Apollo statue. The oracles, the old men are like, unforgivable, Leonidas, don't do it. Don't be so arrogant. They can't believe themselves. It's an awesome shot. And Leonidas, with blood on his knuckles, says, with this, if divine punishment falls upon someone, it'll be me alone. Do you have any problems with this? The oracles are speechless until one of them speaks up and says, wait, you've destroyed the oracle that has lasted hundreds of years. No one is going to follow you. You're going to your death by yourself. Why do we need to go now if we're going to face divine punishment anyway? Why do you want to fight that much? Are you that bloodthirsty? They're talking down on his name, and I love this from Leonidas. He said, I don't want to fight. I'm tired. I don't want to die either. I'd rather have a drink and take a nap, but it's what has to be done, so I'm gonna do it. It's so crazy, bro. He's literally like the definition of a stoic man. He don't give a fuck. He knows that they have to do this to preserve Greece. He knows that he alone, if he didn't step up, nobody else was going to. I love this character, man. He grows on me more and more. Nevertheless, now it's time to fight. Whenever we fight at our own will. That is Sparta. We don't take orders from no one. We do what needs to be done when it has to be done, no matter the repercussions. And he walks off, and Haggis just looks at him in disbelief. The guy that was so nonchalant before, completely inspired. And he says literally his body moved on his own. He didn't even know what he was doing, but he called out to Leonidas, despite thinking that what he did was so foolish because, of course, like, not one man could take on 300,000 men. But he calls out to him, and he's like, I'm coming with you. He's crying. He's like, I'm coming with you. He was so inspired. He was moved, and he wasn't the only one. 298 other dudes pulled up right alongside him, the most brave, courageous of them all, the 300 Spartans, and they walked alongside Leonidas to the battle, yelling, Leonidas, we will follow you till death. And they were all captivated by their leader, the king of Sparta. And Leonidas didn't even expect this. He was literally 100% prepared to go fight on his own. He's like, you guys know this is a war, right? They're like, yeah, we're with you. If you go in to do it, we're coming with you. And they're like, come back with your shield or on it, which is like that code of honor. If you ever heard like boxing, I want to go out on my shield. You either kill me or I get you. We're not afraid. We are Spartans. Leonidas, cold as hell, doesn't even really react, takes his cigar out. He's like, shit, do as you like. Let's ride, man. We going. And he's got a sword and shield. So he doesn't actually have a spear, which is very interesting. We thought Leonidas might use a spear even with his new Volund, which we'll get into later. But no, he was using a sword in the old times alongside his shield. But the other 300 are using spears. So he's the only one using a sword. The narrator states, thus fate, no, Leonidas, the one who rebelled against the gods, and 300 Spartans went to battle. And there's just beautiful shots. This is the Battle of Thermopylae. You see the scale of Xerxes' army. It's massive. Leonidas sees his army standing up top. He's like,
hey, fuck it.
We see Xerxes. He rides up on his elephant, and he leads his guys into battle. And Leonidas, as he charges them, he's like, to the cowards who can only come with a big army, let's show them all how Spartans fight. Haggis says 300 men against 300,000 enemies. To be fair, I was a little scared during that time, but thanks to that man, for the first time in my life, I felt alive. No regrets, and he doesn't believe any of them had any regrets. The narrator says, that's right, the king and even all the 300 knew that they were going to die in that battle, but it didn't deter them in any respect. And basically what this served to do was they drove back and held off the Persian army, which essentially saved the country and allowed the rest of Greece to finish off the Persians and end up winning the war in the end. They died in that battle, but they won the war and saved the country because of the sacrifice. That was their victory over life itself. And we get an awesome shot of Leonidas, like with cuts all over him and everything, on his back, on fumes, jumping after Xerxes on top of the elephant like a beast. And Xerxes right there fighting. We don't end up seeing what transpires here at the end, so obviously it looks like Xerxes probably is the one that ended up killing him, but it still served to show the greatness of Leonidas. It was his back, that man's back, that mesmerized all the soldiers, reinforcing that lead from the front mentality. Now we're back into the present day with Leonidas and Apollo talking. We see all his 300 Spartans in the crowd cheering him on, Haggis, of course, at the forefront. And he says to Apollo, do you understand now? Your shitty orders became the oracle of Sparta. They blindly followed whatever you said. I wasn't with that. You are a real pain in the ass. Besides, I hate being ordered around by others. I'm gonna make sure I settle things with you. Got it? This dude Apollo is like still cold as hell. Basically, it's kind of like that fucking the Thanos shit, where Wanda tries talking shit to him. He's like, I don't even know who you are. Like, Apollo don't care. He's like, what are you mad at me for, bro? I told them not to fight. What do you mean by settle things? There's nothing I need to settle. I'm cool. I kindly told them not to fight. I gave them a pleasant and peaceful order, didn't I? And we actually see the oracles like still in awe of Apollo. Like, obviously they're seeing him for the first time and shit. He says to Leonidas, seriously, you're some cocky guy, aren't you? I don't even care about you, bro. Like, you think you're gonna step to me like I just gave him peace? If you wish to talk with a mighty person such as myself in the first place, and it says you have to warm up first, got it? And this is where he does that Chin Shi Wang pose mock thing. I don't know if that's gonna be the official translation. When all is said and done, like, that might change, because that seems kind of weird. I don't really even know what that means. I don't think he's directly mocking Chin. I don't think he even saw Chin because he wasn't watching the fights. He just knows, like, Hades died. I don't even think he knows to who. He does have the same kingly kind of arrogance. When he does this pose, though, Leonidas is enraged, like he's gritting his teeth, biting down on his cigar. He's mad as hell. And this is the first time we actually get to see him whip out his Vlun. Kind of, because the Vlund is in fact the shield, but we see it transform here and get the confirmation for it. Basically what ends up happening is it like compresses down, and then like these blades come out of it, and it turns into like something akin to like a Rasen shuriken from Naruto, kind of like with blades on the end, and then it spins and everything. It's still got the shield face though. Leonidas grabs onto it and he's like, I wanted to hear that from you. A nonchalance, that just throwing away what I'm saying. The arrogance, basically. Brunhilde explains that the rune that dwells within his sacred treasure, his divine weapon, is called the one who charges forth with the spear. So there's the little connection to the shield and the spear. The one that charges forth with the spear. It's kind of weird because it's not a spear. Maybe that's a mistranslation, but I think it is going to be like that, where it's like this weapon is kind of just like his jack of all trades. It can kind of turn into whatever he needs, but it'll always tie into the shield. So we'll end up having to see if like a spear does come forth from it. And the Valkyrie's name is either Girdriful or Gira. She's the fifth one of the Valkyrie sisters. And basically this weapon has like the Blades of Chaos chains on it, like a yo-yo, and he can swing it forward, call it back, everything like that. But Apollo's like unfazed by this. He's like unimpressed. He catches the damn weapon by the blades. He's just looking at Leonidas and he's like, this is the best you got, bro. And Leonidas ends up yelling, and you see this aura stretch from his arm all the way up the chain and circle around the weapon. And he calls out Phalanx Enkos, that's the name of the attack. And you see when this aura reaches Apollo, he is stunned by what happens. His expression goes from calm, cool, and collected to like, what the fuck? It ends up serving to launch Apollo into the air and actually drawing blood from him. So we don't know exactly what this aura did, but whatever it did, it allowed for Leonidas to catch him off guard and draw for his blood. And Apollo gets sent flying. It actually looks like such a cool shot. He's talking shit as Apollo's falling back down the ground. Let me tell you something, idiotic god. If you wish to live a long life, don't you dare stand in front of Sparta. So he's cold as hell. Leonidas is one of the best characters in Record of Ragnarok, bar none at this point. Like, I'm 100% in the hype train for Leonidas. I'm loving him. Just a great character, great design overall. He's just a beast. Now, next chapter, there were some early leaks that said that we are going to get the reveal on Apollo's divine weapon next chapter and everything like that, and it's going to give Leonidas some trouble. So that'll all be next chapter, so we'll be looking forward to that next month, of course. Personally, what do I think this aura is? Maybe there was some magnetism involved, where maybe like his hands got stuck to it and he couldn't break away, because that's like we all kind of speculated that he's going to have some kind of speed-based ability or foresight, or potentially wherever the sun shines, he can see like some kind of hack ability tied to speed. That's why he's so confident. So maybe if this attack like forced him into staying in that spot, that might be the reason why. Obviously, it also is possible that it just drains his energy or something. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, we still have the mystery of the smoke. Leonidas wasn't really utilizing the smoke like he was in the last chapter. But if you guys did not see my theory video on the smoke and the cigars, I do think that they are still going to be integral to his fighting style. I think that they just serve to be his innate ability, and it may tie into this aura, actually. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to drop a like, subscribe, share with a friend for more Record of Ragnarok content like this. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace. If they question how I get it, I got answers. Like, what she got me tripping like